We can just go ahead, jump right into errands. I don't see why not. From the moment you woke up, you knew that today was going to be busier than usual. There was a list of... Ugh. Ugh. There was a list of errands that needed to be finished before the day was done. First up was visiting one of the biggest farmers markets in the area. It was only open 2 weekends a month during certain parts of the year. It was rare that you and your family were able to attend, so your moms liked to make the most out of every minute of it. And you realized it was not just them feeling that way, when you heard a whistle from your left side. Wow, this was a swanky show. Vegetables have never seemed so highbrow. Seriously, they don't mess around with their products.
Isn't that great?
Isn't it exciting? Liz crossed her arms. You could tell she was amused. We couldn't have picked a more perfect trip. It's been too long since we had a true family outing. Her teasing tone said more than she actually did. Your next door neighbors had joined you this day. And that's what made it a true family outing. The three parents laughed approvingly. Out of the corner of your eye, you caught Cove looking at you sympathetically. Some things never changed, and some jokes never died. You'd long accepted that. You were excited to check things out. You thought this trip might be fun. You shrugged, feeling indifferent. I mean, I would never go to a farmer's market, girl. I'm indifferent. There was so much ground to cover today, you wanted to get a move on. Well, I'm ready to get started. I've got plenty of dishes in mind I could use ingredients for. But before your moms responded to that, they glanced at each other and smiled. Yes, it's a very good idea, Cliff. This place is much larger than it seems. It's difficult to visit each part in a single day.
I got it.
I'm sure we can make a decent dent together at least. Actually, since there are so many of us this time, we could take different sides of the market.
Sounds good.
Divide and conquer, eh? That sounds brilliant. Everyone watched your mom's surprise. No one considered that an option, but your mom flashed the group a dazzling smile, continuing the thought. Though it's a little unfair, there are 4 Tsubasa family members and only 2 Holdens here. So I'll go with you boys to even out the odds.
Okay.
That's fine with me. Cliff scratched the back of his neck and slowly met Cove's stare. They both seemed unconvinced but weren't sure what to say about it. Don't worry, we'll be apart for only a few hours, and then we'll have something to talk about at the end of it. Father and son ultimately nodded. This wasn't an argument they were going to win.
Alright.
Alright, I just don't get the point. But I also don't mind spending the first part of the trip with Joseph and Ma. Ma clapped her hands together at that. Wonderful. Are the teams ready to go? I want to be on the other team. Can I be the one who goes with the Holdens instead? Why do I have to? I want to be with my man at all times during this game. In fact, the game's almost over, you know? The game's almost over. You can't be tearing me away from Cove right now. You looked at your mom and to your ma, hopeful that you'd at least get to explore the market with Cove. He perked up at the suggestion, but then you saw Ma was pouting at your request to leave her group. Ma!
Sorry.
Sorry, no can do this time, kiddo. Seeing that neither parent was budging, you slumped your shoulders. We won't be split up too long, right? Ma hooked an arm around you in a little side hug. You grinned.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Joseph. Taking the lead, Mom walked over towards Cove and Cliff, who were still eyeing her confusedly.
Let's go.
Come on, boys, we're heading out. Sure. Okay. Cove looked at you softly. I don't want you to go. Don't go. And found himself pulled forward, stomping in front of you. His expression flickered for a moment, hesitant.
Bye.
Bye. Your mom's dying thanks to Elizabeth? Spend some time with her? Oh my god. Cove lightly took one of your hands in his and gave it a small squeeze. He dipped his face forward, wanting to kiss farewell. When instead he stopped midway, his whole body stiff. He jerked his gaze back at your mom, and you realized that she had grabbed the hem of his shirt, gave it a small tug before letting go. Oh my gosh, she doesn't want us to kiss.
No.
You jerk. Mom. Time's a wasting, Cove, and I've known you long enough to be aware that you're one to linger. If I don't stop you now, you'll only drag your feet on parting ways more. The two of you can snuggle and make out as much as you want later. We have important shopping to do now. Stop cock-blocking us. Cove gasped at what he felt was truly an obscene thing to say. His face burned red, but that was ignored by him. He spoke with an unimpressed roll of the eyes.
Seriously?
You don't need to literally pull me away from Joseph. I'm not that clingy. I'm that clingy. Oh god, you guys have no idea how clingy I am. Mom's sniggering with a shake of her head. Cove's eyebrows raised over the reaction, and he turned to Ma. She wouldn't meet his eye as she whistled innocently. Liz smirked ear to ear, and Cove whipped his head towards his dad. Mr. Holden couldn't offer anything more than an apologetic shrug. It was only then that it dawned on Cove that everyone did think he was that needy. Finally, he dared to face you with wide, pleading eyes. Yeah, nothing's wrong with being attached. It's nice. And you meant it. You very much enjoyed Cove's company as an affectionate nature. But that wasn't exactly a denial of what he was being accused of. Mom's smile grew. Cove couldn't believe that he was being completely outnumbered. His mouth twisted as he struggled to come up with something to say in defense. Yeah, well... so what? That admission had Liz, your moms, and his dad bursting into laughter. Cove grimaced and walked several steps from the group before stopping. He clearly wanted to move on so much that he was physically moving away. I'll see you soon. For a moment you weren't sure if Cove heard you over the noise of the market, but then he nodded. You smiled softly, watching him get over his embarrassment and relax a bit.
See you later.
See you in a few hours. Take care of yourselves. After that, Mom picked a direction and set out into the market with Mr. Holden and Cove following behind her. Grinning, Moss sent them off with a big wave. Liz gave a daintier goodbye wave herself. Despite the change in plans, you felt it was a good idea. You'd been happy, now you were annoyed. I'm gonna be annoyed this whole outing. That'll show, Ma. That definitely put a... Oh, whatever. We'll be happy. It wasn't what you'd imagined, but that didn't matter. There was a whole market to explore, and you couldn't wait to find some good stuff. When they were gone, Maud cheerily turned towards you and Liz. She put her hands on her hips. Do you think there'll be any nice ginger around here? Ginger? That's what we're at the farmer's market for? Girl, go to the grocery store. You can find ginger anywhere. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, Ma? You gotta find the freshest ginger you can. We'll have to find out. You nodded in agreement, keen to truly get the trip going. Ma led you both into the busy market. Sometime past browsing, there were only a few stalls you stopped at. You had fun chatting and laughing, pointing out various things to Ma, Liz, and vice versa. Maybe we'll bump into Baxter. We can only hope we'll bump into Baxter. And then Cove will show up and he'll be kind of annoyed that Baxter's there, and then we'll just be like, hey Cove, stop being mean to Baxter, and then we'll choose all the options to flirt with him. With Baxter, that is. Then we can gaslight Cove and be like, no, you're crazy, it's all in your head, I'm not flirting with him. At one point, Ma stopped suddenly. She put a hand on her belly and gave a half-hearted smile. I think I should have used the bathroom before we left home like the two of you responsibly did. Just need to pee?
Yes.
Yes, Liz. I'll have to visit the ladies' room now. Should we wait here? I can just give you this bottle. Just gotta aim it, sis. I mean, Mom. I mean, Ma. Should we wait here? Ma craned forward as she struggled to pinpoint the direction she needed to go. She gently brushed her comment away. There's no need to worry about me for this, or waste time standing around. Keep on shopping. Though actually, I might need help finding my way. Can you please come, Lizzie? You and your sister had to share a look over that. Why do that of all things?
Hey!
You can't wait for a breakup moment because of all our cheating? I'm not cheating. I'm just having fun. I'm just living my best life. Ma, if anyone should go anywhere on their own, shouldn't it be you? You're the one needing a detour and you're the parent here. She's old, Lizzie. Look at her. She might collapse. Ma giggled, unfazed by the resistance. Liz, meanwhile, tipped the brow of her hat up, watching Ma skeptically. Soon enough, Joseph left to handle doing these kinds of errands on his own. This makes good practice. What? Ma hooked an arm around Liz's and pulled her along.
Have fun.
Have fun. We'll find each other again later. Excuse me? What is she talking about? Is she talking about me moving out? Bye. It was all you could mutter as Ma and Liz waded into the crowd. They were out of sight within moments, and what started as a group outing rapidly became you entirely on your own. You were overwhelmed. You thought, screw them. You were done with the trip. Yeah, she was being ridiculous, but whatever. You weren't sure what ulterior motives Ma had for pulling this, but that was far down your priority list at the moment. You were starting to feel happy at the idea of doing things at your own pace. You found a place to sit where you were left. You texted Cove to meet up. Sure, are we supposed to be meeting up with Cove? Didn't they tell us not to? Would I get in trouble? Would I get in trouble for texting Cove? Maybe if I don't text Cove, though, I'll meet up with Baxter. I'm thinking that might happen. Let's walk off on our own. We might run into Baxter. Resigned to your fate, you picked up where you left off, browsing the stalls. One hooked your attention. What the heck is this? While most stalls were selling various garden-grown foods, I know, like this does not look like a farmer's market, it looks like a candy store or something. This one had an array of homemade fudge. There were even vegan versions of every option. You got closer to the stall. You sidestepped past a few other people and got yourself right in front of the counter for a better look. There was a wide spread, dozens and dozens of delicately cut squares of decadence. The owner smiled and approached you to explain their shop. The fudge is sold in boxes of 4 pieces. They can either be all the same or all different, or any mix you like. Are you looking to buy any today? Just get a box just for Cove. Looking at the treats made you think of Cove. You grinned, hoping he'd like what you picked out. That's all. I don't need any. Yeah, I could use some fudge. I'm glad you came to the right place then. For Cove, you picked... how about the dark chocolate mint? It's green, just like him. Does he like anything? I don't know what flavors he likes. Wait, what ice cream did he have again? Did he have chocolate ice cream or strawberry ice cream? Is there even strawberry flavored fudge? There isn't. I don't know what he'd like. You know what? You're having the mint and the key lime because they're both green and you're gonna like it. Oh, do I have to pick 4? I can get cookies and cream, I guess. And red velvet. And the shop owner carefully put your order together. You couldn't help but try to imagine how Cove might react when you presented this to him. You paid and there was no stopping the large grin going all across your face. Pivoting on your heels, you wove your way back to the center of the path. You pondered for a moment what you should do now. None of the stalls were catching your eye. What did grab your attention, however, was a head of familiar seafoam hair sticking out above the crowd. You knew instantly it was Cove. He hadn't noticed you yet, but he was walking in your direction. He held a couple bags tightly in his hands. Strangely, you couldn't spot your mom or his dad anywhere. You let him go? We can call out to him when he's here. Standing firm, you cupped your hands around your mouth for added projection. You took a deep breath. Cove Holden, get your butt over here. He instantly stopped dead in his tracks. Alert, Cove's head snapped up and his eyes searched the crowd until they landed on you. His whole demeanor brightened at the sight. Why is there no one in my life for whom... Why is there no one in my life that face lights up like that when they see me? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Right? I mean, there's people who I light up for like that, but they don't light up for me the same way, you know?
Joseph.
Whatever. Yes, can you say my name again?
Joseph. Joseph.
Yeah. Oh my god, why is my alarm? Alright. Yeah. Alright. He weaved through the passerbyers awkwardly in an attempt to get through as fast as reasonably possible, nearly stumbling more than once. It only took a moment for him to arrive. It was undeniable that he was shopping by himself. You stared at him, confused. Did you ditch your group? Cove crossed his arms defiantly, the bags twisting in front of him. Your mom took my dad, and I ended up alone. Why are you by yourself? Ma and Liz abandoned me too.
What?
I can't believe this happened to both of us. They planned it. They had to, but I don't know why. Are they pranking us? I don't know either. And you meant it. You couldn't fathom what your moms were up to. Cove shook his head, trying to clear his mind.
So...
Well... His change in tone caught your attention. You watched his eyes start to twinkle with mischief as his mouth pulled into a cheeky smile. You know, it is technically later, and your mom isn't around this time. You chuckled, knowing exactly what he was implying. That incident was already replaying in your head. Okay, you can spit in my mouth right now, right here, right in front of the fudge salesman. You stepped in closer, placing a hand on his upper arm. Cove beamed and leaned in. It was quick, too quick, but you could feel his smile through it. When you both did part, Cove chuckled affectionately. I'm glad it's later.
Me too.
So, His gaze wandered off as if one of your parents might simply appear if he kept checking, and you could tell he was still processing the situation. He scratched the back of his head, looking sheepish. Do you want to forget about whatever's happening and go shopping together? Definitely, you shrugged. Happily, you nodded. I'm not sure. Definitely. There was a little care in your mind for what your moms had planned. You were ecstatic at the thought of spending the rest of your trip with him. Cove's grin twisted into a conspiratorial one. You both knew that you were going against whatever had really been planned for this outing, but luckily neither of you cared one bit at this point. So, where to first? I don't mind going back the way I came, if it's new to you. It's not hard to miss stuff, even if I've gone past it. What have you gotten? Cove shuffled his bags around and started pulling them open so you could peek inside each one. You recognized the array of things he picked up around the market. I mostly got typical things I can use pretty easily so far. Nothing super exciting. And well, I picked up a few things. I figured you might want to have a look too. There were a few tomatoes, some lemons, and sweet potatoes among other things that were wrapped up, so you couldn't discern what they were. You chose perfectly, thank you. What Cove brought made sense. It was far from a complete selection. You glanced around at the nearby stalls. Wanna start over there? Cove followed your eye as you pointed at one of the larger stalls. It was filled with several kinds of staple fruits and vegetables.
Come on.
Yeah, let's go. Once a few people finished paying and moved, you and Cove got yourselves directly in front of the shop. There were so many things to pick from. I guess. I mean, girl loves potatoes, girl loves onions. We love oranges. Carrots are pretty good. Cucumbers, you can put that in something. Hey, some peppers? Some spinach? I think we're good. Maybe peaches. That's everything. The shop owner put your selection together and handed it to you in a couple bags. Happily, you paid and waited for Cove to make his purchase. Ready to go? Cove grinned, satisfied with his new choices. He had added another bag to a small but growing collection. You nodded. Oh wait, before we start moving on and everything, wanna hold hands? You held onto his hand. Shyly, you lifted your hand out for him to take. You took his arm instead. Can I take his arm? The blush on Cove's face deepened as you stepped closer and hooked your hand around his upper arm. You held him close and met his gaze with a pleased smile. Cove was momentarily surprised, but then he chuckled, happy with your change in plan. With renewed eagerness, your boyfriend nodded in his head in the direction you had been going towards.
Alright.
Okay, now let's go. Together, you and Cove wandered the market on the lookout for any stalls that caught your attention. Cove was walking around with a spring in his step, talking about the various meals he had in mind. After a while, you had to go greater distances to find something of interest. Several of the stalls were selling the same goods. It was only a matter now of which you wanted to buy from. You continued ambling down the path until Cove stopped suddenly, literally pulling you away from your thoughts. Cove? You followed his eye line past the crowds. Immediately you knew what grabbed him. Homemade jams and local honey. That stall was glittering with quaint glass jars stacked high, each encasing gels of varying colors. Cove's eyes were practically sparkling at the sight. His feet automatically began to take him up there, likely without being fully aware he had made an unexplained detour. When you got closer, you were surprised there were even more varieties than you thought. There were even different honeys based on what type of pollen the bees used. Cove's focus seemed to be torn between a bottle of blackberry jam and one of clover honey. Want some honey, honey? Did you want some honey, honey? That's the same thing. I guess one of them's teasing one's Ernest. I wonder what on earth could possibly want at this stall. Your voice was dripping with sarcasm, and there was no holding in your laughter when he gave you a disapproving side-eye. You thought things over for yourself, too. I don't know. We can get some blackberry. Oh, let's get some orange blossom honey? That doesn't sound great. Let's just get the clover honey and get out of here. You paid and the shop owner started putting together your order. They carefully packed it in a single bag with paper. Thank you very much. Amused, you watched Cove give in and just buy the whole clover honey and blackberry jam. He also went all in, getting spring wildflower honey and plum jam too. The shop owner thoughtfully wrapped each in brown paper to protect them before putting them away in a bag. He handed the purchase to Cove.
Thank you.
You both stepped away from the stall. Cove didn't fail to notice the look you'd been giving him since he agonized over his toast toppers. Hey, this doesn't go bad for a long time, so why not stock up? I could have chosen one if I wanted to. Uh-huh. For a moment I thought you were gonna buy the whole stall. Cove laughed, but he still tried to shake his head in disapproval. You hoped he enjoyed every bit of what he bought. As he began to stroll, Cove looked up at the sky. He smiled. It was sort of unexpected, considering all of this was technically an errand and unexpected changes often upset him. But he was happy, and Cove liked doing this kind of normal thing. And you could tell Cove especially enjoyed doing these kinds of things with you. You blushed? You were feeling the same as him? You were feeling down about. Cove's pleased attitude annoyed you? What? What kind of choice is that? You blushed thinking about how comfortable doing this with Cove felt. It felt more than normal or mundane. It just felt right. We're so domestic. Cove took a sharp intake of air and started coughing for a moment. Afterwards, he looked at you and your teasing grin and chuckled.
You're right.
That is true. I like it. Later, when you spotted a less crowded area, you took a break from browsing. Cove started rummaging through one of his bags just to check on how his goods are doing. A smile grew on his face as he went on to the next. You chuckled, knowing for sure that Cove wouldn't let anything go to waste. He was going to eat it. You held a hand in front of your face as you squinted upwards. The sun had moved quite a bit, and you've been at the market for a good while now. Neither your feet nor your arms were sore right now, and Cove looked to be doing fine too. But that was something that could be coming. There was a price to pay for this much shopping. It wasn't always just going to be in money. Can you give me a piggyback ride? Could you carry my things? Want me to carry your bags? Want a piggyback ride? You quietly enjoyed the break from walking. Could you carry my things? Thanks.
Sure.
Okay, hand them over. For you, I can do it. Thank you. You flashed him your best smile and passed him the bags. Your arm's already feeling better as you watched Cove add your things to his own bundle. Thank you, thank you, thank you. He nodded while in thought. Cove is still deciding on how he was going to manage them all. You watched as Cove hooked a few bags on the forearm of his left side and then grabbed the remaining things in that same hand. It confused you. He noticed your expression, and as an explanation, Cove held his right arm out towards you. I have to keep it free to do something else. Flattered, you couldn't help but laugh a little as your face burned. You had no idea Cove would do so much just for you. You took his arm again. Wait, double again? And with that, you and Cove continued your trip through the market together. Ma and Mom had both texted you during the trip, though only to say that they hoped you'd found some good stuff and they'd see you later. There were no answers on where they went or why. You and Cove continued to wind your way through the bustling market, the list of outstanding items steadily shrinking while bags grew heavier. Eventually, Cove realized that he hadn't checked his own phone in quite a while, his hands being procured for the last while. He asked to be let go for now, and you agreed. The two of you came to a stop in the nearest alcove, where you'd been out of the steady stream of people perusing the stalls, and he pulled out his phone. Cove rearranged all the bags he was carrying, freeing a hand so that he could pull out his phone. You watched his eyes dart over the screen as he read the waiting messages. Not important. I can reply to that later. He mumbled his verdict under his breath. Then Cove's face scrunched up with confusion.
Huh?
Wait, I got a message from my dad. Listen to this. Cove, I wasn't part of the plan. I didn't know what was going on when I left with Joseph's mom. Where are you? He sent that ages ago. I didn't hear it come in. He sent another one since then. Says he hopes I'm alright and that he's not bothering me. The newest one says everybody's going to the parking lot soon and we can meet up there. He lowered his phone, eyes narrowed. The same conclusion that was settling on you had landed on Cove as well. So it was on purpose. He lifted the phone again, staring hard at the screen. Didn't my mom pull this stunt when we were little? You know, that time she took us to the mall? At least your mom said that she was leaving. Yeah, that's true. The crowd of people passing by stayed as noisy as ever, a sharp contrast to the silence that had fallen over you and Cove. He was rubbing the screen of his phone against his shirt, wiping away dust and debris. He continued scrubbing the screen long after anything could have remained, the action a poor substitute for pushing away the awkwardness of the moment. The shock. My whole world has been turned upside down. Oops, I didn't even mean to choose that. You didn't care about what your moms had done. It hadn't changed what you'd done today, only who you'd done it with. They can be really weird, huh?
Are you okay?
Are you alright? His voice was gentle. I'm peachy. That's good. Abandoning us without a warning wasn't really a cool idea. Even if they meant well, which they probably did. Cove, we're 18! He looked at you straight in the eyes. You're really nice and understanding. Not making a big deal out of this is the only... Not making a big deal out of this is only one simple example of that. But you don't have to be nice all the time. Stuff can bother you. That's okay too. People will understand. I'll understand. You can be kind of annoying to me. Oh my... Can I say that? Well, is this a joke? Like, is this gonna come out like, haha, just kidding? Yeah, Cove managed a faint smile and held up his hands, palms forward, as if he was pleading guilty to the charge. Okay, we were being teasing with it.
I know.
I know I can be selfish and upset people, but that's how I know that what I'm saying is true. Even when I'm the one causing trouble, I'm forgiven. And given chances to do better next time. He chuckled lightly. You knew what he was saying was true. Cole wasn't always faultless, but you were painfully aware that you could never hate him despite it. That was okay. No one could be perfect all the time. You then drew a deep breath, the fresh air steadying you. You didn't stop until your lungs were full. Cove watched over you, still concerned.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, even though I guess it's not exactly my fault this time. But is there anything I can do to make you feel better, even a little? Yeah, go ahead. Deep throat me right here, right now, right in front of all these dirty farmers. You watched the results of your request play out on Cove's face, his lips parting, his eyebrows rising, his cheeks flushing. Once upon a time, Cove would have questioned your choice, worrying that he was misunderstanding and that you might regret it. But now that you'd been together long enough for him to know you were certain. That didn't seem to make him immune to their effects when you asked him to do those things, though. But wordlessly, he cradled the back of your head in his hands. He leaned forward to softly kiss you. His lips were initially light against yours as he sought to understand how much you wanted from him. As you pressed back against him longingly, he responded in kind. When you broke apart, Cove didn't speak or seemed inclined to move away from you yet. Instead, he caressed your cheek with the back of his fingers. After a moment, he stepped away from you, face turned. Cove closed his eyes and took a deep breath. His brow creased, then furrowed deeper into a scowl, his arms tightly coiling together. So they did do something stupid, I knew it. His voice had taken on exaggerated quality, but what truly distinguished it from Cove's typical speaking tone was the abundance of rage. This is such a chore. Parents are so dumb. Why do people have to go to places with family members anyways? I hate them, and I also hate farmers markets. It sounds like he's channeling Jeremy right now. Is that the joke? You got it instantly. It had been years since the boy with the bowl cut had been in town for summer, but Cove had never forgotten. To this day, he continued to unleash his impersonations whenever the moment felt right. Sometimes you wondered if the act had grown more exaggerated over the years, or if the kid was really always that ridiculous. You burst out laughing. You shook your head. That kid is never gonna live that down, huh? Not ever. Cove gave you a lopsided smile, letting the joke rest for now. Come on, we should probably go meet up with the group. Yeah. You didn't dally any longer, slipping back into the crowd and making your way towards the entrance of the farmer's market. It didn't take long to reach the parking lot. Your parents, Mr. Holden and Liz, were already waiting there, and they waved as both of you approached. Your own family seemed to be in pretty good moods. In contrast to Mr. Holden, he stared at Cove with open concern as you got closer. Hey, bud. Hey, Joseph. How are you doing? We'd be doing better if we hadn't been abandoned in the farmer's market by our families. You saw your mom's frowning at his response, me glancing from Cove to Mom with blinking eyes. Just because Joseph tries to make things a good time no matter what, doesn't mean you can just leave him out of your plans and expect him to go with it every time. Ma hung her head ashamed, and Ma had a hand pressed to her cheek. You could tell that they were quickly regretting their scheme.
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry, Joseph. Her words are full of emotion. Mom squeezed Ma's arm. You were trying to make the errand more of a trip, less of a chore. Ma nodded. We didn't think you, Cove, and Liz wanted to be stuck trudging around a market with your parents all day. Especially not in the summer. But you're always very thoughtful and don't like to leave your moms behind. I was begging to go with Cove. So we did ourselves. It was only going to be for the market, not other stops, I promise. There are other stops today? You mean we're not done with our outing? Still, you're right. We could have just told you and let you make your own call. I really am sorry. Neither of us meant to upset you.
I'm really sorry.
All gas, no brakes. And we should have known better, sorry. Ma ditched me too after pulling her urgent potty break stunt. If that helps. I went off to do my own shopping as it seems they planned. So Lizzie just had to go alone? Dude.
Sorry.
Sorry I didn't check back in with you. I wasn't thinking and just tried to blow it off. You quietly took in their stories of what happened. Over to the side, Cove was talking to his dad. Thanks for telling me something was up, though I feel bad for missing the warning when you sent it.
You're welcome.
It's no trouble, Sport. I learned my lesson about making surprise plans. Besides, I've got to register every thought that wanders through this head by you first, right? That sounds about right, yeah. Cove smiled at his dad. Mr. Holden laughed and clapped Cove on the back.
Not bad.
Wow, we're really being outplayed today. You realize you hadn't been the only onlookers to the Holden's moment. Your moms were exchanging rueful looks. Liz had her arms crossed over her chest, patiently waiting it all to unfold. Yes, looks like it. We'd better find some way to catch up.
In that case?
Maybe we can do Joseph's chores for the next week. Mom jabbed Ma on the shoulder. You might be onto something. Joseph, how would you like the sound of that? They looked at you hopefully. I'll think about it. Good, we're serious. Come on. And at the very least, we can make sure everyone stays together for the rest of the stops we're making today. Can my reward be that we don't go to any more stops today? I want to go home. I do, I want to go home. I hate going out. You all nodded at the suggestion.
Yes.
We won't let you down. We'll be the best sheepdogs ever, guarding the flock and catching any strays.
Funny.
We could at least be shepherds. You chuckled, your mood lifting in spite of the bumpy morning. It was going to be alright. You turned to the entrance for the farmer's market for one final glance, pressing it into your memory under this new light. You thought on what you'd picked up at the market and how you're going to enjoy it later. Some things you could only get from the local suppliers like this. That was another perk about coming along to the market today. Cove then sidled up next to you, an eager smile on his face. You could tell from his expression that he was up to something. I know this wasn't part of the plan for today, but nothing that happened really was, so... You've been plotting your own scheme? He laughed. Anyway, well, I sort of picked something out with you in mind. You held out a hand to your chest, staring at Cove as he explained further.
I mean...
Since your mom's decided we should shop separately, I figured I could use the time to get you something. Just a little surprise. He reached into one of his bags and retrieved one of the wrapped up objects. You accepted the unexpected present and he looked on excitedly as you tore off the paper. It was a glass bottle of soy cream drink. You didn't need to taste it to know that it would be nice. It was a boutique product. Is this because I drank soy that one time back in the prologue of Step 2? Or is it just always soy milk? It was heavy in your hands, the container and smart metal cap reaffirming the quality. Even the label, constructed from coarse paper rather than flimsy sheet of plastic, was distinctive. You were practically bouncing in anticipation, and he smiled sweetly at your reaction. It's not a big deal, but I just thought you might like it. You're always getting me things, so... We're a real pair. No, I grinned, ready to unleash my surprise on him. Open your mouth and close your eyes, Cove. Huh? His eyes began to widen. I got you something too when you weren't around. There was a burst of laughter from... Are they all watching us? There was a burst of laughter from first your mom, followed by a chorus of chuckles from the other three. You'd forgotten that they were still hanging around. God, Lizzie's taller than them too. Unfortunately, they hadn't paid you and Cove the same courtesy, and had been listening in on your conversation. You weren't even apart for the whole day! And you both still used that as a chance to get each other little gifts. Ma clasped her hands together, eyes bright.
Good job.
That's so lovely. A day? It was less than a whole morning.
Right?
True, I don't even want to think about what happens when you spend real time apart. That's my boy. You stuck a hand into the bag and pulled out a box of fudge you'd picked for Cove earlier. You smirked widely, amused that the others were still watching you. During my time alone, I came across a stall that made me think of you. Fudge! Cove's face lit up, the grin stretching from ear to ear. The laughter that came from the others who were fully tuned into your little show didn't appear to reach them.
Seriously?
Really? Cove took the box of fudge in one hand and claimed one of your hands with his other. He used the hold he had to lead you closer to him, while he lifted the hand to his mouth and peppered kisses over your knuckles. Thank you, thank you, thank you. He looked at you with shining eyes. At this rate, it wouldn't just be your little group that knew that you'd been treating him. The whole parking lot was going to learn about it. Behind Cove, you could see Mom watching you both with a smile of hilarity. See? This is why he's so attached. You spoiled him. You shouldn't make fun, Pam. It's clearly mutual. Besides, I don't hear you complaining when I'm spoiling you. Mom pinched Mom's cheek, making her laugh as she batted the hand away.
True.
True, true. Liz clapped her hands together with the air of a teacher calling for attention. Since the other adults aren't acting like grown-ups, the rest of us are going to have to pick up the slack. It's time to get back on schedule and continue with the rest of the errands. Playtime is officially over. Ma laughed while Mr. Holden grinned awkwardly. Mom hung her head in an exaggerated display of mock defeat. Kids are tough. I can't even call them kids anymore. Liz tut-tutted with amusement at her mother. Cove shrugged, staying a neutral observer, but the small smile on his face revealed that he was enjoying the conclusion. Sorry, that term has expired. You grinned, letting them know that you were at least partly joking, though really you and Cove and Liz could hardly be called kids these days. You were glad that everyone was getting along. With that, your trip to the farmer's market was closed. It was time to move on. There were too many of you for one car, so you and Cove had wound up in Mr. Holden's car on the way over. You figured it made sense to do the same thing for the next leg of the journey. You sat next to Cove in the back. Immediately after the click of the seatbelts and the lock announced that Cove was safely strapped in, he began to unfold the box of fudge he'd been given. You're gonna eat now? Uh-huh. He nodded eagerly, not taking his eyes from the container. He lifted the top off and longingly admired the selection inside. Minty fudge is perfect for the end of snacking. It's so refreshing. Is the green fudge lime? Yeah, key lime. It's amazing, because it's fudge, but also fruity somehow. That looks like cookies and cream. It's a really cool flavor for fudge. And red fudge, that's gotta be a red velvet flavor. You're right. I knew it. Delicious. I love red velvet. Once Cove had finished bestowing praise on what you'd picked, he promptly started sampling the selection. He was smiling, licking his lips and having a grand old time. You could also tell from the way his nibbling was turning into munching, that the box wasn't going to survive the trip to the next stop. You were right. Cove had tried to savor the treats, claiming just one more time, until there was only one left, and the statement was finally forced to be true. He finished the last one. He sighed contentedly.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Joseph. Those were really great. You're welcome. He set the picked clean box to the side, then rested his hands on his spoiled tummy. Cove wasn't going to be hungry for a while after that. From there, he sat wordlessly, gaze drifting to the window. You knew Cove well enough to spot the signs when he was physically present but mentally elsewhere. The way he would fall quiet staring without seeing, the long blinks, all of which he was doing right now is he looked at nothing in particular. He licked his fingers absent-mindedly, getting the last of the melted fudge off his hand. You were pleased he'd enjoyed it so much. Is it too late to ask for a taste? I can take a taste off your mouth, let's go. Cove straightened up at the sound of your voice, his pose stiff. He turned away, his hands smacking over his mouth instead. You waggled your eyebrows at him jokingly. Oops. So what were you so lost in thought about? Well, I was just thinking about how nice you are. How nice I am? Yeah. His face grew redder as his hands clenched around the top of his knees. You stared at him, hoping for an explanation, but Cove simply ducked his head. When he spoke, his voice was barely more than a whisper. I'm lucky I get to be with you. Aww. His words stunned you. He peeked at you from the corner of his eyes, still too shy to look at you directly. You smiled at him affectionately, eliciting an equally caring smile from Cove in return. You felt content, secure in your relationship with Cove. You decided to enjoy your drink now. You wanted to save the drink for later. I'll drink. You twisted off the cap and brought it to your mouth. Even before the first sip reached your lips, the scent tickled your nostrils. You took a swig. It was refreshing, the perfect way to hit the spot after a long morning trawling through the market. Not bad at all, thanks, Cove. He grinned at you, pleased that his pick had been well received.
You're welcome.
He spent the rest of the day completing the remaining errands, all together as a group. Yeah, sure. We enjoyed the independence. It might not have been about... It might not have come about under the ideal circumstances, but it provided you with an opportunity to spend time making your own choices. You felt that you'd risen to the challenge. Oh, and that is the end of the Aaron's moments.